Hi there, welcome to the November edition of the Reading and District Angling Association Fisheries feedback video. We've got our usual items this month, the work of our excellent fisheries team. Got some fantastic fish to show you in our monthly fish picture competition. I'll be profiling some of the tips that are around and about for you to enjoy and hopefully learn from. And Jim, our Deputy Fisheries Officer, will be giving us his ideas for fishing prospects in the coming rather cold month ahead. Well, Del, I guess what most people want to know is how's it all going with that dreadful breach we got in the Kennet at Calcott, and of course you're a fishery officer with one of our rivers with no water in it, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the Kennet looks actually really good. It'd be nice if we keep it like it. Yeah, where do we start? Oh dear. Everyone's probably seen our video. We put that video out as desperation, really. Because no one was doing anything, nothing was getting done. All that was happening was everyone was arguing between themselves as to who's responsible. Our video seemed to do the trick. And I am the biggest critic of CRT. I mean, CRT, well, I could sit here forever. But credit where it's due, they've stepped up to the mark. They haven't admitted responsibility for it, but that's a legal sort of thing. And they've stepped up to the mark. And so far, access is the biggest issue to it. And they've spent the last 2 weeks, something like that, 20 days or so, getting some access to it. They've now just completed the access to it. So they're now going into sort of their phase 2, if you like, where they're going to be actually getting the machinery out across the river, and they're going to actually repair the breach. They're on course for finishing before Christmas, which, you know, is good. The river itself, the Kennet, isn't suffering too badly. Mm-hmm. The one that's suffering badly is the Holy Brook.
So what have you been doing about that?
Well, we managed to convince the Environment Agency to get some pumps up at the Arrowhead, and we're essentially taking water from the Kennet, which should be going down the Kennet, taking that and putting it into the Holy Brook. So the big problem with the Holy Brook is up at the Arrowhead, there's not a lot of head. Mm. So we need that head in the Kennet to then push the water down to the Holy Brook. Me and Jim, was it Monday and Tuesday of this week, we were up to our waists in mud and water and God knows what else, there's a couple of gravel riffles and a few bits of silt that are inhibiting the sort of flow over the top of it. So we spent a couple of days up there, just sort of opening things up a little bit, mm-hmm. so that we can actually get some more water down there, and it's worked. The level has risen about 2 inches up in the headwater. Mm-hmm. Now that will only get better, because as the water goes through, it will then start backing up, and as it starts to sort of back up, it will get deeper and deeper. There's a lot of hoo-ha about the Holy Brook and how devastating it is, and look, you know, we'd rather it not happen, but it's not quite as bad as people would like to make out. Yeah,
I mean, I was going to come to that, because the Holy Brook isn't of a bad depth from the kind of linear park down really to the back of Matland, doesn't it? So all the way through Coley Park, and then the level drops as it goes through the town. But what people forget, of course, is a lot of the flow goes over the spillover weir into Beat 5, and any fish that were in danger in the town stretch of the Holy Brook, of course, can drop back into the main Kennet itself. So although it looks a bit grim by Helis and the rest of it, actually the bulk of the Holy Brook, where it's fished and it's a fishery, there's enough water in your assessment for the fish to survive?
Yeah. I mean, me and Jim actually spooked some fish while we were working, right. And I mean, we were working in sort of depths anywhere between about ankle deep up to sort of, you know, waist height, and we were spooking fish. So the fish will, you know, fish are actually quite resilient when things like this go on. I mean, we have all sorts of droughts and things like this, and they will move. You know, they'll slowly drop down, or they'll push up into the deeper areas. And from About halfway down the Prospect stretch. So sort of around near, anyone that knows it roughly, around near Brunel Road, downstream. It's actually quite deep through there. And I would suggest there's probably a lot of fish sort of sat in there at the moment, you know. I mean, the big issue is predation, as we said. And look, you know, it's gonna suffer. It's gonna suffer. It's not ideal. But it really isn't the sort of throw your hands up in the air and sort of, you know, run around pointing fingers sort of situation. So
I think the main thing is because of your intervention, you've got water coming down there through the
that's the key.
Crucial.
That is the key.
Without
just to keep the water flowing. That is the key. Because without that water, you know, it will dry up. There's no two ways about it. I mean, we're actually it's quite revealing, if you like, when things like this happen, because the junction, and those that know the junctions, 25 acres around that's dropped 2 foot, you know, because it's the Holy Brook that keeps the water in the lakes.
Yeah.
You know, we're governed by those. So, you know, we're keeping an eye on it on a daily basis. So, you know, believe me, if we think that, you know, people need a kick up the backside, then we'll be doing it, you know.
Yeah.
But I want to sort of stress that now is not the time to throw your hands up in the air and start pointing fingers. That day will come, and we will be pointing some serious fingers at the authorities and what have you that are responsible for this. But now is not the time. The time now is just to keep things ticking over, which we're trying to do.
Well, good news, it's going to be sorted by Christmas. Other bits and pieces, Del? I mean, I see you had a big machine in here the other week.
Yeah, we had sort of every couple of years, we get a big machine in with a big flail on and sort of pick a couple of venues and sort of go around and give them a pretty serious sort of haircut, if you like. Wisley Mill was one of them. Those that know Wisley Mill know a few years ago we put a new track in there, or made some substantial repairs to the track, and we've sort of cut back the edges right back. You can actually now, for the first time I think since we've ever owned it, you can stand at the bottom and actually see the top of the track. Right. We also sort of took back a few bits on the river, on where the lake and the river path split. We give that a good haircut. I mean, we're planning next year on actually getting a new flail for the tractor, and that's half the reason behind it all, because you know we can then maintain those by hitting them hard. And we also had a week in and around the Flint and Engerfield complex, and again, those that know Engerfield will know the backside, the roadside gets pretty overgrown with brambles and what have you, and you know, walking along there with clippers every week or two, just getting the brambles. I wish I could grow food like brambles. I'd be worth a fortune. So we've given that a good haircut. So yeah, we had a good week with that, and that's about it really. To be fair, no. It's that sort of time of the year again. You know, we're making plans more than anything else. We've got the upcoming otter fence at Wiley's that we're going to be starting imminently. However, we have sort of come across a little bit of a stumbling block where, because we're going to be taking out a lot of trees up there, we're going to have to get ourselves a felling licence. Well, right. And that might take a couple of weeks, but we're hoping, fingers crossed, that in the very new year, we'll be making a start. That's
good. And of course, the Friday Club's been up and running. You've had those guys working hard, I see.
Yeah, they work hard every week, and you know, they're proving to be invaluable. I mean, as I said right from the outset, places like Wilmot's, Callows, Brownlee, you have to micromanage those. They're those sorts of fisheries, and without the Friday Club, we just wouldn't have enough hours in the day. And you know, they come in, they do 4 hours work, get a free bacon sandwich in here, a cup of tea, you know, and as I keep saying, it's a social event as much as I think, you know, we're not really fussed, we're not there cracking the whip saying we need this amount of work done on this particular. You come in and do as much or as little as you really want to. But it's proving to be invaluable.
Well, that's good to hear. So 10 o'clock this Friday, the following Friday, right up to Christmas, and then we'll start again in the new year.
Yep,
so big thanks to the Friday Club for all they do. Del, thanks for that. And I think now it's probably time to move on to our monthly picture competition.
It is indeed. Right, and this month's winner of a Reading District hat and either a course bundle or a carp bundle from Rod Hutchinson Bait and Tackle is Mark Erdwin. Now, Mark, a lot of people on Facebook will know Mark. He's got his own YouTube channel, which I expect him to be wearing our hat in now. He catches some good fish, but I think this chub he's caught is something pretty special this year. I mean, £7.2 is not to be sniffed at, and as I say, every month he's got a smile on his face. So that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for the biggest fish. It's just a fish and a picture that encompasses everything that we all love about going fishing. So well done, Mark. And you need to be wearing your hat in your next video. Otherwise, I'll come and take it back.
That's fair enough, Del. I mean, I was looking through these pictures and there's a real mix of very interesting and very good species here. I mean, the month started mild, didn't it? We saw some of those big barbel come out. Mick Dedman had a real run of fish, didn't he? 14.8 barbel.
Yeah, I mean that's a hell of a fish, a 14-pound fish. I mean, as everyone knows, you know, the barbel fishing has dropped off on the Kennet, and any double figure fish that you're catching on the Kennet now is really a huge fish now. There's also the other one from, I can't remember where it was now. Where is it?
Mark Lambert.
Yeah, Mark Lambert. I mean, again, a 13-pound barbel. I mean, you know, that's not, everyone gets a little bit wrapped up with the weights and they want to be catching these huge, great fish. But, you know, any barbel over 10 pound is a big, big fish. Well, so, you know, well done to both.
I agree. And the other one I'd pick out from the gallery of this month was Connor Peters. Very few people, I think, at the moment have tried our new stretch of the Loddon at Upper Wisley Mill. But Connor went down there pike fishing and came up with that lovely double figure fish.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, when we were out with the flail, we did notice a few anglers going up there. You know, so it would be nice to get a little bit more feedback about what's coming up there. But you know, well done, Connor. He's gone up there and he's given us a bit of feedback. And you know, pike fishing this time of the year, it's always going to be, you know, any photos of fish are going to be dominated by pike and perch this time of the year, and we've certainly got airfield this month.
And the last one I've got to mention, George Lovell. I mean, he's got a perch of a lifetime, and he's not smiling. No wonder you didn't give him the prize.
No, he definitely needs to smile a little bit more, but I think that's probably due to his dad. His dad's probably cussing him behind the camera because he's caught bigger one than him again.
Well, you know, Ben and George Lovell, I mean, they are definitely the perch kings of Redden District at the moment. But certainly if I was George, I'd be a bit happier than he looks in that photo.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, I think he's probably, you know, in fear of having his pocket money clipped because he keeps beating his dad.
One thing, just before we move on, one of the pictures we had, Ash Pomeroy on that Pingewood carp, that's not one of the big old fish from Pingewood, is it?
No,
what
I
is
mean,
that one?
Pingewood's going through a bit of a transition at the moment. The older fish have been dying off for the last sort of 2 or 3 years, and we stuck a load of fish in there just as COVID hit, actually, last year. And they're coming on really well now, and some of them are sort of doing well into the £20 mark, and that's one of them. So it's nice. This is a new generation, and I think, you know, give it another 3 or 4 years, Pingewood would be back up into the heady days of, you know, big 40, 50 pound fish.
Fantastic to see. Well, thanks for that, Del. Right, it's now time for fishing prospects for the coming months. And it's over to Jim Stansfield, our Deputy Fishery Officer. Jim, what would you recommend targeting in the coming rather cold period we've got at the moment?
Well, for starters, take a flask with you. That's going to be the first thing. With these frosty mornings we're having coming up, it's definitely going to be pike this month for sure. All of our venues hold good pike, especially all the river venues and our big pit venues. For big pits, Sonnin, Pingewood, Farnham Flint, anywhere like that, you can have a good day out pike fishing.
And I noticed in the pictures, Jim, we had a lot of good chub catches, not just Mark Erdwin's big one, but some very good shots of multiple catches of big chub. Some of them were match shots, so they didn't feature in our competition particularly. Yeah. Where would you be targeting chub?
Chub, again, all of our venues are holding chub, but from personally what I've heard about, Lower Benyons definitely seem to be holding a few recently, and Ufton as well can be another good shout. So, yeah.
And what about the Loddon? Because, as you know, I like chub fishing there, and of course, once that weed's gone and we've had a bit more rain, I'd be interested to see what comes out, particularly of our new stretch of Loddon, the upper bit.
Yeah, I think once we've got that first sort of good heavy downpour of rain and that river gets up a bit, gets that sort of colour in, these frosts that we're going to be having in the next month are going to be sort of killing off a bit of the weed and stuff. So that's going to be a very good shout, especially on the new upper stretch. Don't sort of walk to the first couple of swims because it's quite a walk. So travel light and get around up there and try a few different pegs.
A little tip on the upper stretch of the Loddon, if there's two of you, you can park a car up at Stamford Lane, if you can get in the lay-by there, and then drive round to the Redden District car park at Wisley Mill, and then literally rove the whole 1.25 mile stretch of river, and then hop in your car and come back again. I've done that a couple of times, and it's been very productive. Yeah. Another fish that is synonymous with the winter, of course, is grayling, and I noticed a few half-decent grayling now starting to come through at Upper Benyons.
Yeah, I'd say Upper Benyons is definitely the shout for a grayling this winter. There's been fish in excess of £1 up there showing, so that'd be a very good stretch. And also as well, if you drop just down from Upper Benyons, you've got Ufton as well. There's a few guys sort of trotting down there last year, and they had quite a few graylings. So if you fancy a grayling this winter, that's the place to be.
Thanks very much, Jim. We haven't got any tips specifically for you in this edition, but people will have noticed that excellent introduction to lure fishing that we had on our YouTube channel by Dave Blackmore. Thanks very much for doing that, Dave. It was incredibly instructive. Mick Dedman did his first one for us a while back on the rigs he's successfully used to target big barbel on the lower Kennet, and thanks for that, Mick. I know we're planning one on bread fishing, and we've got a few experts in the club on using bread in the winter, so look out for that. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the Redden District YouTube channel so you can keep up to date on all the tips. And of course, if there are any other members out there who want to share their expertise with the membership as a whole, just drop us a message. We'll consider anything that might be of interest to our very wide and diverse membership, so please get in touch. So that's it for this month. We hope you enjoyed it. Wrap up warm out there and tight lines.